these things?
Yeah, there's the little rocker bar on top.
Just take it all the way down.
Once you get it open, I think you can put
All
this
right.
on.
Just don't want it to interrupt the meeting.
Okay, we're hot. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 12th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. We're going to call the meeting to order at 7:38, and let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the entire board present tonight. We'll be ready to conduct business as published. And thanks for coming tonight. Welcome to winter. So at this time, I'll entertain additions, deletions to tonight's agenda. And the first request is to delete action item number 2. And I move the Board of Trustees move action item number 2. Looking for support?
Support.
Y'all got it? Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney to delete the appointment of the police commission member because we don't have the police commission, the applicant, or the, I guess that's the word I want, the applicant processed yet. So that we're not ready to handle that tonight. Discussion among the board? None offered. Those in favor of deleting action item number 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That will be deleted. And Mr. Bletcher?
Move to item number 5, the workers' compensation case settlement. Move to that to a closed session.
So I'll
Support.
second. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll give that to Trustee Budney. Then moved by Trustee Bletcher, seconded by Trustee Budney. Discussion among the board.
Why?
Why
do we want to move this?
There are details in the case that need to be discussed with the attorney. Other discussion? Those in favor of moving action item number 5, the workers' comp case, to closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will be added to the closed session already scheduled at the end of tonight's meeting. Other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda stands amended. With that, we'll move to public comment on tonight's action items. Okay, with none offered, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to move to approve consent agenda number 16-073, which includes the minutes of the November 28th, 2016 regular meeting, approval of check register dated through December 9th, 2016, authorization to process and distribute payments through December 31st, 2016, and approval of the annual Wayne County permits, of which there are 4 for pavement and restoration, special events, street sweeping, and annual maintenance.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss to approve the consent agenda. Any comments, questions among the board on the consent agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. With that, the consent agenda stands approved. We'll move to tonight's action items. And the first one I will introduce, requesting the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees approves the 33rd District Court 2017 budget on a conditional basis.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. Normally, this would be just a consent agenda item. It's not optional. We're part of the 33rd Judicial District, and we pay, our share is apportioned by our caseload. Ours is very small. It's about between 4 and 5% of the court's activity. And fines, fees, accumulated funds are redistributed to what they call the district control units. What happened in this case, there are 7 total communities. They're called district control units. There are 7 total. And the cases are assigned by the zip code of, is it the plaintiff's zip code or whoever is filing it? Plaintiffs by the zip code of the plaintiff, so that gets assigned to the communities. We have our own zip code, but 48173 and 48134 and 48183 are interspersed among the other 6 communities, and some of the cases were inappropriately assigned. They got it all worked out at the last meeting, but they don't have the final budget, how it's going to be apportioned among those communities. It doesn't affect us, but because we have our own zip code and we did not get caught up in any of the misassignments. But since it was conditional, since it says conditional, I wanted to be able to explain why it's a conditional budget. Our share does not change, and requesting that the board approves the budget so I can send it back to the court. Any discussion among the board? I'll read and they want this on a resolution, so I'll read the resolution. Whereas the Board of Trustees for the Township of Grosse Ile has received the budget submitted by the 33rd District Court for the period of January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017, and whereas the caseload figures in question will not affect the Township of Grosse Ile's portion of the budget. Now, therefore, the Township of Grosse Ile resolves that the budget be conditionally approved pending adjustment of the final caseload figures. Further resolves that the total expenses set forth in the budget be adopted as submitted, and also further resolves that the district control unit's respective allocations be conditionally approved pending adjustment of the final caseload figures. That being the resolution, if there's no further discussion, those in favor of approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That'll be sent over to the court. And the rest of the communities can be surprised what their bill is now. Let's see, 2 is off. Action item number 3, that will be Mr. Bletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move for the appointment of approval of a hiring of a police dispatcher clerk. We have interviewed, commission has made a recommendation, and we're asking for the approval of the hiring of Melissa Reardon, currently employed with part-time with the City of Trenton. We'd like to have her be our next dispatcher clerk.
Okay, I'll support. Background. Chief, are you going to brief us on Ms. Reardon?
So you know, yes, this was the position that we were replacing with Miss Lawler. And
Gape.
Gape.
Margie. My assistant now.
Whoops. Yes, correct. Miss Gape. And now you got me.
Sorry, Chief.
So we went through the hiring proceeding, and Miss Reardon passed all the psychological, medical, tox screen, everything, and she has been with Trenton for a few years now, and we hope to have her on board actually tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock if the board will approve it.
So Trenton's going to be mad at me now, too.
Again,
right.
That's 2 we've taken for our department, but that's okay. The way life is. There's a reason they're coming here.
All right, so you've done the interview. She's well qualified. Where does she live?
She lives in Brownstown, so she lives in the communities, close here. Mm-hmm. And again, she passed all 3 different background. What it was a conditional offer that she passed all of her psych, medical, and tox screen, and we got all the results back, and everything was real good.
Okay. Questions, comments among the board? Okay, with none offered. Those in favor of approval of the hire of Melissa Reardon for the position full-time clerk dispatcher for the Grosse Ile Township Police Department, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Ms. Reardon, welcome aboard. All right, Mr. Budney.
Thank you, sir. You have a motion to award the bid from Utilities Instrumentation Services, Inc., lowest bidder in the amount of $17,429 for a new PLC, which is Programmable Logic Control, for the control of the lime system at the wastewater treatment plant based upon the recommendation of the Charles E. Raines Company, and contingent upon the DPS Commission approving, which it will come up at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Van Oss.
And
I'm going to explain this system to us.
well, since Joe's here, I'm going to have him come up and take advantage of him. If you could, Joe, just give the board a little summation of how this whole thing works.
Okay, the lime system stabilizes the sludge, which is the residue that we pull out of the wastewater. We stabilize it and then store it, and then twice a year haul it off, and it's used as fertilizer in farm fields. The PLC, the Programmable Logic Controller, controls the process of starting the mixers and the pumps and all that, and the current one has failed, so we're kind of doing it manually at this time. And we're, just asking to bring it back and have it back to an automatic system again, and we're also going to build in a fail-safe shut-off switch so that we cannot overfill the tank if the PLC fails in the future. So that's what it's all about.
And I saw it's part of the plan.
It was part of our capital improvements plan, yeah, and we had it budgeted for $22,000, I believe, and so it's come in quite a bit lower than that, which is always good.
It's interesting to see the price differences between the three bidders. I just
and that's a good point too for the board. I mean, there was a big difference in them, and we did go back to them and made sure that, being lowest bidder, that they could perform at that price, make sure they didn't miss anything, and they assured us that they could. So,
yep.
Any other comments, questions for Mr. O'Keefe? Well, we've got him as an easy target. All right, with nobody stepping up, those in favor of awarding the bid from Utilities Instrumentation Services Incorporated, the lowest bidder, in the amount of $17,429 for a new programmable logic controller, PLC, for the control of the lime system at the wastewater treatment plant, based upon the recommendation of the Charles E. Raines Company and contingent on DPS Commission approval tomorrow, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Now, keep that plant running. All right, we'll move on to that one. Mr. Malvesto.
All right. Supervisor. Recommend action from the Township Board to award bid for a new fire department ambulance to Kodiak Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of a 2017 Braun ambulance for a sum of $199,872.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Malvesto, seconded by Trustee Budney. Chief.
We put this bid out quite a while ago. It went out to 8 bidders, and we got 2 back. We presently have a Braun ambulance. Actually, we've had 3 or 4 Braun ambulances. This is another one in the fleet that's replacing the one. This bidder was very receptive to the team that put the ambulance together, and he is also the only one that came through with a trade-in value of $14,000, which helps bring the cost of that ambulance down. I did research the cost of the current ambulance. There's a lot of them on the market, anywhere from what we have, about 40,000 miles to 250,000 miles, and the price ranges right about where we're at right now, all the way to about $25,000. But I've been watching the internet. The $25,000 ones aren't selling, so that tells me that they're overpriced. It also takes the liability off us. I mean, we turn it over to the manufacturer, the rep, the sales rep. It's gone. It's out of our hair. We're not selling it outright, having to listen to somebody. What? How come you didn't tell me about this? How come you didn't tell me about that? So we did start about 2 or 3 years ago replacing rocker arm or rocker parts on the bottom of the doors. So the rust was starting to take the cab and chassis. So it was time to replace it. And also, it's 2 years past our capital replacement program. We replace them every 14 years, but due to the economy, we pushed everything off. My capital reserve plan, which goes out 8 years, is most everything on that plan has been pushed out because we stepped back for a while during the down economy. This gentleman, too, this Kodiak emergency fire put a beautiful package together for us, too. So, and we have a lot of faith in the Braun ambulance. So it's been a great tool for us.
I'd like to assure this board and the residents that this has been a long process. There was a team put together within the fire department itself. They researched it. This ambulance is actually a custom based on their needs. It's not just something out of a catalog somewhere. And it's the commission, the fire commission itself, has been kept up to date on a regular basis. We've been following right along with them. There's no secrets here. Everything's in the open. There's quite a package, a bid package, if we've taken the time to look at it. This is going to serve us for another, I don't know, Chief, 12, 14 years?
Years. That's the bid pack. Whoops, that's the size of the bid pack.
And this is a four-wheel drive vehicle, and as anybody knows, the snow we just had.
Well, there's a caveat to the whole situation. We had to go from an E-Series to an F-Series. E-Series, for people that don't know what those are the van-style chassis. Ford and GM quit making diesels in those trucks. You can only buy gas burners. We're not big fans of gas burners with the way we drive them. So the only way we could get a diesel, we had to go to an F-Series truck, which is a pickup-style truck, which we originally had 30 years ago before the vans came out. And so we're actually going back to it. And we did put four-wheel drive on it. It's the first time we've done that ever. But with the new profile four-wheel drive that they're putting on these pickup trucks, it made sense. And it was about a $2,000 option. So between the cost of steel and the change in chassis, there's been a change in the actual cost of the ambulance to what we're buying now. The original ambulance 14 years ago was approximately $150,000. You know, with the trade-in, we're now spending about $187,000. But there's some caveats to it, which is one is the chassis.
There's an importance of getting this ordered because there will be a materials cost of materials increase.
On the 22nd, there's a $4,000 increase in material costs to steel. So we took it right down to the wire. Actually, this was supposed to be before the board last month, and there was a few hiccups in the two bidders, and we had to work through that and get those out all the way before we brought a clean package to the board.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Other questions, comments for Chief? Ms. O'Connor.
Yeah, Chief, thank you for all the information. I just noticed in your proposed legislation you said there will be 3 trips to the plant while under construction. Mm-hmm. Can you just explain to people what you plan to accomplish?
Well, we can drive to the plant. It's down in Van Wert, Ohio, if you know where that's at. It's out in the middle of nowhere. But it's a pre-construction meeting. That's when we do all the final details, right down to the last bolt that goes into the truck. That usually takes about a half a day with the team. Then there's a mid-construction. That's when the box is built. It's in a frame style, so we're seeing where the wiring's going and all that kind of stuff. So we have a clear understanding where everything's at. We take pictures to keep in our file so we know where all this stuff is running. Then we go down for a final. And then I usually make a trip down there by myself at least once, so I have some time by myself down there to go over it with the manufacturer. So,
thanks. Good to know.
Other questions, comments for Chief? Mr. Bletcher.
Mr. Sorty, you've had a chance to review the contract. You satisfied with it?
I have, yes.
Murdoch, any questions regarding it?
Yep.
Anything you want to point out?
Yep, we're good to go there.
Excellent. Thank you.
Final questions, comments for the Chief? All right, with none offered. Those in favor of approving the award of bid for the new fire department ambulance to Kodiak Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of a 2017 Braun ambulance for a sum of $199,872, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, that will take us, Mrs. O'Connor.
All right, thank you. This is a motion to designate the assignment of Township Board members to serve as the liaison to the following Township commissions and committees during their term of office or until further action. So the Airfield Commerce Park Commission Brownfield Authority, Treasurer Van Oss will stay. Airport Advisory Committee, Treasurer Van Oss will stay. Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission will now be liaised by Mr. Malvesto. Community Recreation Commission and the Festival Commission will be liaised by Mr. Nelson. Department of Public Services Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals will stay with Mr. Budney. The Fire Commission will stay with Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Bletcher will take on Open Space and Greenways Committee as well as the Police Commission. And I will become the liaison to the Planning Commission. I think I've covered all of them there. So that is the motion. Oh, and Supervisor Loftus will stay with the Downtown Development Authority.
Support.
Support.
I beat you too. Okay, I'll give it to Mr. Nelson. So moved by Clerk O'Connor, seconded by Trustee Nelson. To move forward with this, that was the purpose for our study session. We have a lot of experience established. We're bringing some experience back in. I think we're going to have a productive board term. Questions, comments among the board?
Okay. I just want to kind of reiterate what we had said before and to talk with the community and the department heads and the commission chairs that we do understand our job as liaisons is to bring information to and from the community, to the commissions, to the board, and vice versa, from the board to the commissions to the communities. And we're really motivated to improve the level of communication now, especially in the absence of a newspaper, that we want to assure everyone that we will be working with this as a two-way level of communication. So that's really just what I wanted to say.
Other comments from the board, questions from the board? Good to go. Okay, sorry, Mr. Bletcher.
I would again encourage that each of the commissions have a regular agenda item where the liaison from that commission to the board and the board to the commission has an opportunity at the meetings to relay any information from the board. I'd like to see that be a two-way program, not just the commission going to the board, but also liaisons that are going to be able to report to the commission what the board is thinking about, if there's anything that's come up during the last meeting, study sessions, things like that.
Very good. Anything else? All right, with none offered, and I'm not going to read through them again. I'm just those in favor of accepting the volunteer assignments of the board members to serve as liaisons to the various commissions and committees, as previously read, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered? We will be able to get to work now, and that completes tonight's action items. We'll step over to the clerk's report. Ms. O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Don't have much to report today. As you know, our ballots were taken to Wayne County when the recount of ballots was called. In the meantime, the recount has stopped, and we have taken our ballots back. I think if you follow the news, you know there's a lot of conversation, both in public and in private, about reviewing and looking at Michigan's current election laws. And I just want to assure you that Sharon and I and our staff will be making sure that we represent the community and we represent our ideas during those conversations. I think we're fairly assured that our ballots, our precincts were recountable. As I don't know if you're aware that at the end of every election, we have a chairperson and a vice chairperson of each precinct, a Democrat and a Republican, bring the ballots to Township Hall, where they are reviewed by a receiving board, trained staff and volunteers who go through the poll book, go through the seals, make sure that everything is as it's supposed to be, and before we commit everything to the county. So I have a very high confidence that our precincts were recountable. I know it's been in the news that that's been an issue. So with that, that's the clerk's report. Sharon, you don't have anything to add? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor. Mr. Treasurer? Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I have a voice and a loud one, and Ted's not doing so well right now, I'll do the treasurer's report. November financial reports are currently being compiled, and they'll be available at the next board meeting. The treasurer's office, the 2016 winter tax bills have been mailed. If you did not get a tax bill, please contact the treasurer's office immediately to confirm your address. Also, the 2016 winter tax bills are due February 14th, 2017. Eligible residents can apply for an extension of the winter tax due date of February 14th to April 30th, 2017. Deferment applications are available online at the treasurer's website. And then 2017 pet tags are now available at the treasurer's office. Proof of valid rabies vaccination is necessary to obtain a pet license.
We have a Commerce Park meeting. We have a Commerce Park meeting on the 19th. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. And Mr. Bletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We have a new chair for the Girlsville Police Commission, Joe Dixon. He's been on the commission for approximately 5 years and has been very involved with all of the work of the commission. And Joe is going to do an outstanding job. He has led us in the interviews. We had 7 people apply for the vacancy on the police commission. Joe did a marvelous job of going through, looking at credentials, leading the discussion, as well as coming to the idea that we would have a full decision made tomorrow night to make that a full commission once again. We're also looking at the Coyote program. Chief Porcerelli is going to present that to the commission tomorrow, an update on what we can do with the state of Michigan. And we also are preparing the 2017-18 budget, and Mr. Zalasko is spearheading the 5-year plan that's going to be implemented beginning in 2017. So we're doing well.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on to Trustee Malvesto.
Okay. In regards to the fire department, I don't know if anybody this past Saturday at Kroger's saw the bell ringers. The volunteer firemen were taking turns ringing a bell for the Salvation Army. I want to thank them. Guys are putting up their own time to do this. Also, Goodfellows donations, either in the form of cash or gifts, can be dropped off at the public service building. This serves a great purpose to needy families through the Christmas holiday. So if anybody has any thoughts on it, please stop by the fire station and contribute something. Also, currently, we're pushing EMS calls are 521 for the current year. Fire calls are 98. That's going to put us well over 650, close to 700 calls by the remainder of the year. And over the holidays, there seems to be more calls than normal. Guys are out there working their tails off. They're up 2-3 times a night, sometimes 4 times in a given night, making rescue calls. And it doesn't matter what the call is, they make it. So I want to thank the volunteer firemen for their dedication to their job. Chief, our next meeting will be January, correct? January 12th. Anything you'd like to share with us? Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Let's see, Mr. Nelson.
I'll be brief tonight. I think most of you probably realize that it snowed a lot in the last 24 hours. I was out early this morning. I noticed lots of Wayne County trucks on the island plowing snow. I was encouraged by that because we do pay that extra amount of money each year to have that happen. There wasn't any school today, and they were still here. So if you had any problems or concerns, please voice them so we can stay on top of that and keep the job that they're doing going and going and going. That's all.
Thanks, Jim. And Mr. Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Tomorrow is our December DPS meeting. We have no, I know everybody's going to be upset about this, but we have no ZBA meeting again this month. I don't understand why they don't want to come to ZBA, right? You know, the meeting is like 2 days after Christmas. I don't know why we don't have anything. I would like to have Lorinda come up. Our project, our water main project on East River Road, actually received an award for the project. And Lorinda, will you tell us a little bit about it? And you have the award there.
Last Thursday at the American Public Works Association at their Christmas luncheon, the township received an award for the 2016 Project of the Year for the East River Road water main replacement. The contractor was Veritaire. The project was a little over $2 million, where we replaced approximately about 2 miles of deteriorated water main on East River between Horse Mill and Ferry. They had 7 criteria as part of this award. The first was we were 5 weeks ahead of schedule, thanks to the contractor. They had no injuries on the job. We held a town hall meeting prior to the project starting, and this really helped us out. We got a lot of questions answered. Also, the contractor provided the residents with a flyer on who to contact, phone numbers, in case they had a problem arise. Also, there was some concern with the adequate fire protection in this area, and with this new water main, we were able to satisfy that while providing drinking water still to the residents. Some of the unusual conditions out there were all the private utilities that were out there. These are not marked by MSDIG. So at the town hall meeting, the residents were really, really good with that information, and it helped all of us out. Also, we had a very, very hot summer. We had a hard time getting the grass to germinate, but eventually it did take after a few times, and so we were well on our way to having it look green again. Some other considerations that that was part of this award was the fact that we held the town hall meeting. We used a new technology of directional drill, horizontal directional drill. It's a trenchless technology, and it's been used as an alternative for underground utility installations. The pipe that we use it's called HDPE, which is a high density polyethylene pipe, and it's very durable, corrosion is resistant. It's chemically resistant. It's virtually maintenance free. We should have a sustainable system here now for decades to come. So that was all part of the criteria of which we were awarded. And it's just a feather in our cap. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I may, we got compliments from the residents on East River Road on what a great job that the contractor was doing, how well informed we'd kept them, and that just doesn't happen, you know. When they're leaving me compliments on so. Do as good a job on the West River.
Yeah, we plan to.
Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
And my last comment, I just wanted to wish all the residents, wish my fellow board members, and everyone a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Let's move on to, Township Attorney, Mr. Sardi, any?
With action item number 1 tonight on the 33rd District Court, there's one just comment I'd like to make. The annual calendar for the 33rd for the prosecutions that we handle for the township is out. We will remain again on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of each month. We attempted last year to try to see if we could work it with once a month, which essentially means you're paying me or someone from my firm to be there for the morning. That just didn't work. I felt it could work with the caseload that we had, but with the Supreme Court's requirements on the judges and the amount of time and the fairness to the defendants in the matter, it just wasn't working. So we are there twice a month, trials being separate, obviously. Probably the biggest thing that I feel real good about is that we were able to also have combined the department rep days with and have those on the same days that we have our that we do the prosecutions. That means that the police department has a representative there with me at this. Someone needs to be with me while I'm doing the prosecutions. Someone needs to be there for the department rep. We can have that person doing 2 jobs at once, obviously saving in the cost, and freeing up the guys to do what they need to be doing, which is being detectives and handling what needs to be handled. So we're working with the court every way that we can because of our low caseload to not, try to fit a square peg in a round hole. But we're doing that. We're trying to do everything we can to keep the costs down. And hopefully with that calendar staying the way that it is, we're going to be able to do that. So, and I'll answer any questions anybody has on the prosecutions. I've requested, and happy to inform everybody, we've requested an update of where the teardown is going to be. Our understanding is that the asbestos abatement situation has been completed and that the demolition plan has been in place. That's the last I've heard. I don't have a knockdown date. They have been informed. We come to January operating time. Those buildings aren't down. We'll be back in front of the judge to find out when they're going to be torn down.
Tom, the new owner, I noticed, is cleaning up the place. He's actually painted some of the buildings and replaced baseboards, so he is fixing the apartments that are back there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were pretty excited about the new owner and the tact he was going to take with the place. Yeah. So, they've got to come down, and he knows that. In the same time, we made sure that the township didn't have to flip the bill for $250,000 to take them down in the process. So
those will be gone, improving the appearance of the existing apartments.
That's already started. It started last Saturday.
There's paint going up, so
we will continue with the pressure. I mean, it's an issue. We explained to the court that it was an issue, and we were fortunate enough to be able to include not only taking those buildings down, but just overall improvement of that facility with the court, with a little assistance from the court.
Anything else for Mr. Assorti?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Mr. Ream, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A few brief items. We can keep them brief or not. Obviously, last several weeks we've had more than once, I believe 3 times in the past week and a half, the Groseville Parkway bridge closure. They've been having some electrical problems and losing power, and we're working with Wayne County to see what we can do to help them store their generators, etc. So hopefully it's just some maintenance and troubleshooting. We do not have a specific answer from them yet, but we'll continue to work with them to try to make sure this, we understand completely what happens. I guess the locks are not locking, which means because they lose the power, they have to bring in a generator. So this had happened many, many years before. And was remedied, so I'm hopeful that it's just going to be just that, maintenance. So that is in process. Obviously, we did have our first snowstorm this weekend, and we've received a few phone calls about the subdivision streets. The subdivision streets are Wayne County roads, and they are one of their lower priorities, and they will get to them when they can. Generally, it's 4 days, 5 days. Is that a fair assessment, Jim? Mm-hmm. So, and it was also asked why we did not declare a snow emergency. A snow emergency is determined by the public safety if they believe that there is just that, a snow emergency under their regulations. So we had a lot of snow, but over a very long period of time, so we didn't get a whole bunch in a short amount. And they had no issues in do their first response. And last, I don't know if everyone saw the article in the paper last week. We got a Merry Christmas from MDOT starting February 4th. southbound I-75 will be closed from Livernois all the way to, I believe, somewhere around Goddard, all the way down to Brownstown. And it will be closed until 18 of October. October of 18. So it's a big project, and I would suggest you go to the MDOT website and do additional research. But northbound will be open. Southbound will be closed, and there'll be obviously people finding different routes, so that's going to be tricky for a while. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Dale, is that Springwells or Livernois? We were talking about Springwells today, so I asked.
I have the article here. Maybe I misspoke.
Doesn't
You're never going to get to that point.
Springwells into Brownstown near Goddard.
Thanks.
Be able to get downtown. Getting back will be challenging.
Dale, with respect to the bridge, that is a problem with the electrical. There's no. Dale, with respect to the bridge, there is an electrical problem. There's nothing structural or anything else that we understand is a problem. Is that correct?
All I am aware of is electrical problems. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Dale, and maybe Chief, you brought up the snow emergency question. I know there are some neighborhoods where a lot of people are parking in the streets of the subdivisions, and it makes the snow removal really, really difficult. And I know one in particular, Concord, off of Church Road, where then when it starts to refreeze again, you've got some very deep ruts and so forth. So I don't know what we can do. I don't know that there is anything to do, but just to remind people that under these kind of situations, to get their cars off the street. I also noticed this morning people who have snow removal services, sometimes they're not very careful and they leave a big pile still in the street, or even worse, covering somebody else's driveway. So those are some things that as we get into this snowy, slushy season that we need to be mindful of.
I believe we have ordinance language about leaving snow, pushing snow out on the street. We'll just try to get the reminders out, make sure the contractors know about it. Anything else?
No,
Please.
sir.
All right, we'll step on.
Who's responsible, the contractor or the property owner?
No, at this point,
Ultimately, I think the property owner would be.
Chief, can you come to
yeah.
Unless there's a snow emergency declared, legally you don't have to have your cars off the road, but it's a courtesy to help out Wayne County, help out us, help out everybody, and your neighbor especially, because again, the next day, as Uta said, what can occur when there's times that it goes above freezing and then freezes back that night. So if there is a snow emergency, yes, we make sure your cars are off the road. And unfortunately, we've only had to take a few of the cars that they refuse to get off the road, or they cannot get off the road because it's not moving, not working. We'll make it work for you.
We'll move.
So the issue is, just out of courtesy, please, if you could take the cars off the road so Wayne County can make a clean pass through the subdivisions especially. I did notice, I made a comment that the police department, again, will monitor our response this year. And Wayne County, they come out at a certain time. When it snows, don't expect to see the trucks. It's not that they're not out here yet. It's they haven't released their trucks for the entire southeast Michigan, for the Wayne County area. So when it's released, then we do get two vehicles assigned to us, 2 trucks. They always come in tandems, and they've been doing a pretty good job. They were out fairly soon. When the trucks were released, they did come out. They'd get the main roads. They were all clear by the morning. All the main roads were cleared and salted by the morning. And again, up to 5 days for the secondary streets. But we've seen them the next day, and the third day I've seen them cleaning. And we've logged that they have been cleaning the side streets, just so you know.
But the homeowner or the contractors pushing piles of snow out into the street and leaving them, 6 feet off the curb, that sort of thing. Who's responsible?
In the UTC, the one pushing the snow is because they've blocked the travel lane.
Okay.
What we do, we've had problems in subdivisions last year, and as a courtesy, we'll first go to the residents. We'll knock on the door, make contact, and actually ask them, could you please ask your contractor to come back and we've had some lanes of traffic actually removed by the piles of snow, meaning that lane, southbound, westbound, whatever lane, has a big hump of snow in it. So we've asked them, obviously it's coming from your driveway, and they've been more than happy to call them, and they've come out and they've cleared it, actually, the contractors. And if it happens again this year, we'll do the exact same thing. But we have to see it, obviously. We usually get a call, and then we respond, and then we'll contact the homeowner. But it is the person plowing the snow, and there is, in the UTC, there are different statutes regarding when the snow is pushed to the side of the plow, how it slides off the side and leaves 2 long trails. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to clean up your mess when you're doing it. And I get it. That's their money maker. They've got 50, 60 maybe places to go to, and they're trying to get them done. I get it, but you still got to make sure you do it correctly. It's a safety issue, it's not a nitpicking issue. It's for safety. So,
thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, one quick question before you go. You have a morning band across your badge. Can you explain to the board what that's for?
What we've done is, in the state of Michigan, we used to put the bands on our badges when officers were killed. And what you do is you keep them on for 1 week. But last year, we did go, the departments in the state of Michigan, we did go to the country instead of just the state of Michigan. So unfortunately, some of us haven't taken this band off in a while. If it goes back to just statewide, then we'll obviously do it. But it seems as though that officers are killed in the line of duty constantly. And that's what has happened now. There was a couple more in Georgia, and then there was one more last night. In Michigan, the last one was the Wayne State police officer. I believe it was maybe 2 weeks ago. And what we do is after the funeral, then we take it off. And then there was one last night that was killed. So it seems to be a constant war out there, and that's what we're dealing with today. So that's the reason for it.
Thanks, Chief. Now we know. Okay, just a few wrap-up items. Yes, we've had bridge closures due to the electrical issues. We are unaware of any structural problems. So there's a rumor out there that it's bridges and it's having fatigue life issues. I'm not aware of any of that, but I will get in touch with Wayne County, their engineers, and find out what the status is and report as soon as I can. Please, when we're trying to get the information out through the app to tell you when the bridge is closed, try to tell you again as soon as possible when it's reopened. Please do not call dispatch. Please do not call 911. As we've said, we can handle, 3 911 calls before our system is flooded. Then it kicks to Trenton or Riverview, and it just gets cascading farther and farther away. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but your inability to cross the bridge is presumably not a life-threatening situation. That's what 911 is for. Again, we have the app. We try to get the information to you as soon as possible. Because people were still calling police all weekend about when was the bridge going to reopen after it had reopened at 5 o'clock on Saturday, we did put out another notification this morning. It wasn't a holdover from Saturday. It was to remind you that, yes, in fact, it had opened on Saturday, and we notified you Saturday, and please stop calling because it's still open. And hopefully it'll stay that way. I was assured we'd be notified maintenance on the bridge. I'm not so sure we're getting that notification, but I'll reinstate that contact and maybe get better communication going. Don't call 911 about the bridge. Okay, odds and ends, the Holiday Boutique, still open. Final weekend coming up. Thursday and Friday open 4 to 8, Saturday 11 through 7, Sunday noon through 6. That'll be the following weekend. Neat stuff in there. As Mrs. Walker remembers, if they don't have it, you don't need it. So hope to see you there. We had the tree lighting, the Island Glow. It was a very nice evening, but I did light the tree early. Actually, Santa's helper lit the tree early. And when Santa says light the tree, his little helpers light the tree, and it was a little bit early. My stalling talents only last for so long, so we did light it a little bit early. And I neglected to introduce the trustees who came out that evening to join us, so my failure there also. But other than that, other than my screwing up, it was a very nice evening, and hope everybody had a good time. Well, I know a lot of little kids had a good time. Okay, the holiday stuff. Township offices will be closed on Friday the 23rd, December 23rd, all through the weekend. Also closed on Monday the 26th. Will be reopened at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning, the 27th. Same thing the following weekend. Will be closed Friday the 30th through January the 2nd. Reopen at 8 o'clock on January 3rd. That's Tuesday morning. This will be our final board meeting for 2016. The next meeting will be in January. So I'll just say on behalf of the entire board and the township staff, a Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Please be safe. Download the app. Let you know what's going on in Grosse Ile. Take care of yourselves, and see you in the new year.
Brian, can I have for one thing, please?
You may.
All right. As far as the bridge closures go, actually, there is a life and death situation there, and that's when we get an emergency call. Please, if you see or hear an ambulance approaching the toll bridge in times like this, do everything you can to get off the road and give them the room they need to get over that bridge and transport the patient to the hospital. It's really a major issue for the fire department to do that. It's a big vehicle. It demands a lot of room, and going across that bridge is a chore for them. So if you see or hear an ambulance, if you're whatever side of the bridge you're on, just please use some common sense. Have a little patience and let them get on their way, because it could very well be a life and death situation. So Chief's well aware of that, and he's told me. And thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, with that, let's open it up to public comment. Mrs. Walker.
Kathy Walker, Thorpe Court, and I want to reiterate what Tom said. It is life and death. My husband's been ill, and I know I'm always worried when the bridge is closed that if something ever happened, be kind. But my question tonight is, winter is here. Are there any plans to do the fundraising to cover the skating rink's $40,000 shortfall? With the snow and everything, maybe. Any plans?
A golf outing planned in the spring. That's in process right now.
So the golf outing will do it, because I know there was one planned last year and it didn't come to fruition.
Correct. We have different volunteers now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees?
And the register dated December 8, 2016 to O'Reilly Rensinio in the amount of $1,241, and to Pepper Hamilton LLP in the amount of $228.
Okay, thank you. On this bridge, the first time the light on the other side of the bridge wasn't working. I wonder why.
Okay, are we talking about the toll bridge or the county bridge?
Toll bridge.
Okay. That's, Chief, Riverview's or Wayne County?
That's Wayne County. I don't care. You yell at me. It's coming back.
No, I went out there on the first closure, and as you know, the light does belong to Wayne County, but the process to get the light changed is through Riverview. Riverview, the first time, I'm just going to be straightforward with you, had a hands-off approach. I wasn't very happy with that. I'm not going to go into our little meeting we had, but the second time it occurred, the reason the light wasn't changed because they set up a traffic pattern that the light, if it was actually functioning as a correct red, yellow, green light, would have messed up their traffic pattern. So they actually did something, which was nice. They were out there. They were directing traffic on the second one right away. They set up a pattern So they let everybody come one way onto the bridge turning right. You couldn't turn left from southbound Jefferson onto Bridge Road there. You had to go down towards Trenton, towards Sibley, turn around and come back. Actually, in time, if you look at it, it's the exact time because you would let one way go, stop traffic, let the other way go. What they did is just made one long line. I'm telling you, in times, there wasn't a difference from where you were at. But at least this time, they were out there. The first time, it wasn't changed because of their approach to it. Apparently, they've changed their mind, which is nice.
Your persuasion worked.
How about our the bridge, the light on the Grosse Ile side of the bridge?
Now, if you look at the light, we checked that on the Grosse Ile side of the bridge. We weren't getting issues from turning left from Bridge Road. Now, we were packed because it was after 5 o'clock there, turning left. But if you recall, that's a yellow blinking light. They have the right-of-way on Meridian. You're correct. So we put somebody down there to turn left as you're going. We'll do it this way. As you're going northbound to turn left, they have to stop at Bridge Road, okay? Stop at Bridge Road and then come onto the island. So what we do is we reverse that and we let traffic flow by hand. We send somebody up there and let it flow by hand at rush hour, meaning we'll get you off quicker than people will have to turn right coming eastbound. Does that make sense? And you'll have to turn right, unfortunately. And then we stop track of if you really live in that left sub, it does mess you up, but that's the way to get the largest amount of traffic. So we have to do that by hand. The light doesn't actually do that, but we send people up there to do that.
Thank you.
So that's where we're at.
Thanks, Chief.
Good enough there, young man?
Yeah, Joe, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you again.
Oh, I know.
That was good. It was very good the second time. Over on that side, they had cops out there, and they were doing the thing what Joe said, because the first time was just total BS. Okay. Dogs are eating peanut butter now, and in this peanut butter, you and I can eat it. It's xylitol. It's XYLITOL. We can eat it. Dogs eat it. They can die, or their liver will be liver problems, really bad. Okay. What's the shooting? What's the count on the shooting of the deer? How many this year?
Oh. I mean, we'll research that. And
starts in January? 200?
Starts in January. We haven't done.
Okay, so you don't know if it's going to be 200?
150 to 200 permits we're getting.
Any coyotes? Okay, Joe. The cost of the ambulance, is it us or you? Sorry? The cost of ambulance, is it coming out of your pocket? It was coming out of our pocket, but...
Ambulance fees.
Ambulance fees? Okay.
There's no additional millage.
No, that's what I just want to know, if that was going to happen. Sewer clean out. Now, I had mine done. It cost $175. Really cheap. It's better than digging up your lawn for $5,000 or $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comment from the public present? All right, with none offered, I'll entertain a motion to recess the regular meeting and convene in closed session. So moved by Trustee Budney. Somebody want to?
Second.
Supported by Treasurer Van Oss. Okay, so those in favor of recessing the regular meeting and convening closed session, please signify. Oh, actually, you have to have a majority vote or that'll get correct. I have to have a 2/3 vote. We're going to closed session. Yeah. 2/3 vote.
Yes.
Supervisor, aye.
Aye.
Treasurer Van Oss, aye. Trustee Budney, aye. Trustee Malvesto, aye. Madam Clerk?
Aye.
Trustee Nelson?
Aye.
Sorry. And Trustee Bletcher?
Aye.
Unanimous, all ayes. We will convene in the upstairs, in the conference room next door. Thanks for everyone for coming tonight again.